You're listening to the B&H Photography Podcast. For over 40 years, B&H has been the professional source for photography, video, audio, and more. For your favorite gear, news, and reviews, visit us at bnh.com or download the B&H app to your iPhone or Android device. Now here's your host, Alan Weitz.
Greetings and welcome to the B&H Photography Podcast. Today we have a special episode. We are recording live on tape, as they say on TV, and we are at the Depth of Field Professional Portrait Wedding and Event Photography / Video Conference, which is sponsored by B&H with several other vendors here, and I'm going to read off their names. We have Adobe, Leica, Panasonic, Profoto, Sigma, ViewSonic. Other companies who are displaying here are Canon, Godox, Nikon, Sony, and LG. We're going to be speaking to several vendors in no particular order as we can grab them, but at the end of 2 days, we're going to have a pretty good snapshot of what's happening in the world of wedding and portrait photography, as well as some new developments in terms of technology for screens, lighting, cameras, and lenses. And that's what this whole show is going to be about, so stay tuned. We are with Lindsay Silverman, who is the Senior Product Manager, Pro DSLRs of Nikon Incorporated USA. Welcome. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you, too. Nice to be back at B&H.
We're coming into the time of year where new toys start coming to market. Anything you could tell us about?
We can never reveal what's coming out. You know I can't do that, but I can tell you
I read some really good rumors.
Well, what's new, though? I mean,
we never talk about rumors. We just came out with a lens that is another really hot item. The 180 to 400, AFS 180 to 400, TC14.
Oh, yeah.
It's our first lens with a built-in teleconverter. Mm-hmm. And the 200 to 400 was an incredibly popular pro wildlife and sports lens. And this is proving itself to outdo the popularity of that lens. If you
it adds a whole new dimension to the lens. It
don't
really does.
underestimate not having to take a lens off and add a teleconverter when you're out working
Absolutely.
in the field. And at the Winter Olympics, that was a big part of the story. They didn't have to remove the lens, expose the mirror box, reach in a bag, grab a converter. With one finger while holding the lens, they can engage the teleconverter and use it. And they said that the performance with converter or without was equal. Almost every photographer we talked to said it was equal. It's lighter, it's a little smaller. They said remarkable. And I know here at B&H, you guys carry that. And even that's hard to get at the moment, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah. Well, that's what you get for making a good product.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
The 105, 1.4, still a remarkable lens, still very hot. I just came from NAB show and the WPPI shows in Las Vegas. And portrait photographers, videographers, they are after that lens. It's such a unique look at such a fast aperture. And so people are embracing these high-tech, high-ticket type tools like I've never seen before.
Well, Lindsay Silverman, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Love to have B&H and love everything that you guys do.
Okay, terrific.
Thanks so much, Lindsay.
We are now being joined by Ken Curry, who is the National Sales Manager with Ricoh Pentax.
Appreciate having me.
About a year ago, I did a field test on the Pentax K1. And I was really impressed with that camera. It's a lot of camera, and I was amazed at what technologies were packed into this thing, and then I looked at the price tag for it, and I think that might be one of the best deals as far as what you're getting, as far as gear, imaging, and everything else in one package. Durability, too. It's a great camera. Now there's a new version of it.
There is, yeah. The K1 has now moved to the K1 Mark II.
Okay.
So it's the same full-frame body chassis, magnesium alloy, weather-sealed, weather-resistant. But what we've done is we've taken and added an accelerator unit to the prime imaging engine. So we get better the overall image quality, lower noise and high ISOs, which is,
And it was already the files are already beautiful.
It's pretty spectacular. Mm-hmm. We also have the pixel shift resolution, which we had in the K1, but now we've taken it another step further, where instead of having to do pixel shift on top of a tripod, you can actually handhold it.
That's pretty sick.
It's pretty amazing, yeah. So you're going to captures 4 different images, and with the sensor basically in a different position, and then compiles all of them to give you a really high resolution image.
What's the lag time on that, or how's that work when you're operating it?
Yeah, after you take the photo, it is going to compile it, so it takes a few seconds. So, depending on the amount of data that's there, it can be, I've seen it as fast as 8 to 10 seconds, and then it can expand out a little bit more.
And are you going to hear 4 frames? You're going to hear
Yes, you are. Very quickly, though.
You guys are able to pull this off with a handheld exposures and get away with it? 'Cause that to me is pretty amazing.
It is. It's obviously a new technology, but the fact is that our sensor-based shake has given us a lot of features over the years.
So it's sort of gimbals that you give. So in other words, if the camera's moving one way, it's compensating a little.
That's exactly correct. Yeah, our sensor floats on basically on a magnetic base, so it's not gear driven. So it's free floating design and actually a little bit of rotation as well. We've been able to take that technology and parlay that not only for the pixel shift resolution, but a feature called Astro Tracer for long time exposures. And the Astro Tracer features, just another element of having that sensor-based shake for us. That technology has allowed us to have a lot of extra features built into the camera, and to your point, it's a better value overall because we're still one of the lowest price point full-frame products that's out there, especially with what it's doing.
I want to add to that. Low price point, but without sacrificing quality.
Yeah.
Can you explain easily what the relationship with Ricoh Pentax is and how you guys decide which cameras you're going to brand Ricoh and which you're going to brand Pentax?
Yeah, so Ricoh is the owner of the Pentax brand,
right,
effectively. So that happened over 3 years ago. And so the differentiation at that point in time was that Ricoh was the ownership company. And some of the products we've branded under the Ricoh name. Obviously, the GR series, which Ricoh, they developed and they brought that. You have to keep that. You've got to keep that as Ricoh. So we basically made the decision that most of the compact products, like our WG series, would be branded as Ricoh. Interchangeable lens products would stay Pentax. And then also our sport optics stays Pentax as well. So more on the optics side of it, it's all Pentax. We have that heritage. Both products are made very, very well. The quality is there. It's nice that we have a really diverse lineup of products. And then one of the newest things that Ricoh has brought to the table for us is the Theta, which is our 360 product. We're on our 5th version now. And for us, it's very exciting because each time the technology changes, the quality changes, the ability to use it with different apps on your mobile device changes, and we continue to improve that.
You guys made your name way back when with the Spotmatic and the K1000. You talk about basic photography. The K1000 launched a lot of photography careers and lifestyles and hobbies.
Should bring it back up. I had one.
Yeah, we all did. Okay, now there's a whole thing. Film is making a comeback right now. Now, I'm not saying go make a film camera, although I won't. Well, a lot of people won't mind if you did. Okay, but how about coming out with a digital camera that's rooted in a K1000? Strip all the games away from it and everything else. A basic, simple, entry-level DSLR that looks like a K1000, analog styling. This is just my little thing, but I'm throwing that out there.
I love the idea.
I strongly suggest this. Ken Curry, thank you so much for joining us today. We are with David Piazza, which is Italian for town square.
That's right.
I just learned. Okay, and David is the Director of Sales North America for Westcott, lighting and light shaping tools. And the topic around the show today seems to be a lot for continuous light and LED and things of that sort. What are you guys up to these days with lighting? What's your hot products?
Well, we've got a few hot products. We've been in LED lighting for, close to a decade. And our first innovative product we put out was called the Ice Light. And we're on our 2nd version of the Ice Light. It was helped to be invented by Jerry Johannes, who was one of the biggest portrait and wedding photographers in the world.
Who's here?
And it's like a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Very much like you see on Star Wars, except it's LED, dimmable, daylight balanced, battery operated.
And it doesn't have a Graflex handle.
It does not have a Graflex handle. You just showed how old you are.
Oh.
Right? Us old guys, we know what Graflex is.
That's right.
Anybody who was born like my kids and they're 25, 26, they don't know what that means.
I'm 32, so I'm old enough, I know.
Yeah, well, you look a lot older. And with the
and act a lot younger.
Yeah, I love it. Our next new innovation is called the Flex, and that is also a LED panel. It's a flat panel, but it's flexible. So it's about, maybe 1/4 of an inch thick, 1 by 1 foot, 1 by 2 foot, 1 by 3, 2 by 2, completely flexible. So you can make it into a 360 like a China ball, or you can make it very narrow. You can shape it to a wall, to a pillar. You can tape it or clamp it to a suspended ceiling. And these are very powerful lights, again, daylight and bicolor, that you can adjust the intensity steplessly. The 2x2 foot is 4 times as powerful as the 1x1. We do it by like the square foot.
And by the way, I know somebody who was doing a photograph, was shooting video in a car interior, and they used those. They lined they basically anything was out of frame. They just molded these lights into it.
That is exactly how the Flex is designed to be used.
There's no room for lighting, but there's light.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How do you get them up? I mean, are they adhesive, self-adhesive? Do they work on
They have Velcro
Okay.
along the whole edge of it on both sides.
Okay.
So we have a frame called Scrim Gem that you can Velcro it to with a diffusion panel that Velcros to the front. The Velcro itself can stick to any other Velcro. So when you make it into a China ball, when you make it into a circle, it Velcros to each other.
Right.
When you want to travel with it, you can roll it up. And that's how you can transport it, to take less space. Now, the 1x1, I typically don't roll to transport, but a 1x2, 1x3, 2x2, 1x3 and 1x2 in particular, I can roll that up into a 12 inches by maybe 2 or 3 inch diameter, and it's safe. And I can just bring the power source and the dimmer separately. So I can put 2 or 3 lights in a carry-on bag onto an airline.
And these are battery powered.
Huge.
You
can do battery power in the 1x1. We're working on battery power for the bigger sizes. We're working on a lot of things with the Flex. We're going to be having a lot more innovations later this year.
And can you attach them to a panel and put them on a stand also? Or
yes.
is that a whole separate product?
The frame that we have that's available has a 3/8 inch tap on it. And then we sell a kit that's got a mount on it, a double ball mount. And then you can put that on any light stand or grip equipment. It's very easy to grip. You can clamp the frame. You can just clamp the mat itself. So on TV sets and feature films, they do a lot of clamping, taping, Velcro, anything.
Any way
because
to
it hardly weighs anything. Right. And it is water resistant too, which is awesome for out on location. Now, just to be clear, it's not designed to be submerged. So it's an excellent light.
Splash, but don't go diving with it.
Don't go diving with it.
Yeah, okay.
Nothing in the bathtub. Nothing weird, you know. And then our latest light is called the Solix. So we have a lot of different lights for different photographers and videographers. Our company feels that there are a lot of tools available to us as photographers and videographers, and we all have different ways to work, just like a carpenter or an electrician or a painter. When you're a painter, you don't use a very small brush to paint a wall. You use a large brush or a roller. When you have to paint trim, you use a smaller brush. So we have all these different tools and ways to accomplish it. The Solix is a little bit different in one respect. It's made for videographers, but it's also giving a very big nod to photographers. It's a round light, LED, of course, daylight balanced, dimmable, but it also has a ring built into it that you can put standard softboxes on it. Now, when you have a light panel, any light panel, even our Flexes, it's difficult to put it into a standard light modifier. It will hold anything from a 12 by 36 strip bank up to a 7-foot octabank. Any manufacturer also. So that's a great piece, and it's priced very attractively. For $449, you get the barn doors that attaches with a magnet. Also a diffusion dome that goes on with a magnet. Take it off, put it on. Same thing with the barn doors. And it comes with a full carry case with a strap and all that for $449. It's a great price-pointed piece. So going forward, Westcott's very known for our innovative products. We also have a lot of light modifiers. A light modifier is anything that you use to change the quality of light. Reflectors, softboxes, diffusion panels, things like that. Our most innovative product is called the iLighter. And the iLighter is a curved reflector that is designed to go underneath someone's face when you're doing a portrait. And it does a couple things for you. It pushes up light from underneath and really fills in around the face.
They use this on broadcasts a lot, don't they? I know with talking heads on TV, I've noticed
Talking heads, you do see very extensive reflection.
ridiculous amounts sometimes.
They're really shaping light quite a bit when you're doing broadcast. If you've ever gone onto a TV set or a feature film set, it is astounding what these guys can do with scrims and reflectors and lights. And those are the kind of products that we make. And these are the kind of innovation that we can bring to the general public, especially for a portrait photographer that may not be that experienced with us. The highlighter is kind of a no-brainer. You put this thing down, you shine a light onto it, you put it underneath a subject's face, and all of a sudden they look beautiful. I can even make you look good.
That's got to be.
I don't know.
That has to be a good product.
Yeah.
There's no product to do that.
I know. I have shatterproof mirrors in my house, so I mean, it's a challenge. I get it.
And then Westcott also makes a whole series of what we call rapid boxes. And the rapid boxes we make for both speed lights and for studio strobes. And they're very quick to set up, very easy to set up. We can put deflector plates in all of them to give you a beauty dish type of look. So we make them for studio strobes, 1x3, 48-inch octa, 36-inch octa. We're coming out with different sizes very soon. For speed lights, we have a 26-inch octa, a 10x24 strip, a 32-inch duo that is designed to take 2 speed lights. These things are just great tools that I never had when I was younger that make light modification easy, can pick up the quality of what you're trying to accomplish, get you to the spot you need to get to quicker and easier.
Thank you, Dave. Really appreciate it.
All right.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thanks.
All right. We are with Lavonne Hall of Adobe. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I was over at your booth earlier, and you're walking some people through Photoshop and Lightroom. And what else are you doing here? And what's new from Adobe?
Okay, so basically, I get a lot of questions regarding the Creative Cloud and people going into the cloud. There's still people out there that are afraid of the cloud. And I think it's mainly because they're not sure what the cloud does. So they're thinking, oh, if I sign up for a Creative Cloud, that means everything is in the cloud. And if I want to use the computer, use Lightroom and not be connected to the internet. And no, that's not what that means.
Right.
And they're like, oh, so I can actually use it without being connected to the internet. And yes. And they also think all their images are in the cloud and they can't use them on. I mean, it's just weird.
Just tell them that the cloud takes $10.99 out of their credit card every month, and you're good to go.
That's what I've been trying to explain to them. But I think I've gotten some of the people that have attended here a better understanding of what the cloud does and that they can use it without being connected to the internet. And also that eventually, whatever version they're on before the cloud is going to disappear eventually. So they're going to have to make that jump. So some people did, I heard, make the jump today.
Oh, yeah?
So that's good. But in terms of new features, there's a few new features that came out recently, which is pretty cool. I don't know if any of you know about the dehaze filter.
I've heard it and I have not had a chance to play around with it.
Okay, the dehaze filter is actually a really cool filter. So if you think of, I love to use an example when I'm showing this filter, when you're in an airplane. Lots of people take photos from their seat in the airplane.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
And if you notice, it's wow, it's kind of hazy and you can't really see anything.
Actually, if you shoot midday in
That
July
too.
and August, it goes that awful harsh blue.
Well, we have this filter called dehaze, and the main thing that they actually did with the filter is it was all the way at the bottom of the tools, so no one really knew about it unless someone showed you and oh, go all the way down, use the dehaze, and they're like, oh wow, that's amazing.
Is that a fancy name for 81A filter, or is it more than an 81A warming filter?
It's more than that.
Okay.
It's definitely more than that.
Because that used to be a default way of doing that. When shooting film, you just drop that filter on, it killed a lot of it.
What it does is it brings up more of the contrast. So if you're bringing it more towards, it's using more of the dehaze filter, the image gets this. It's similar to clarity, but it gives it a different kind of pop. So if you've ever used clarity, clarity is working more with the midtones. So it's giving your midtones that extra pop.
I never figured out. I look at it, it's making differences. I could never figure out what it's doing, though. I just know when it looks good.
Okay, yeah, it's basically working with your midtones.
Okay, all right.
So
Yeah.
being a new feature, or not, it's not a new feature.
It's not a new
just
feature.
relocated
They
it?
just relocated. So now it's under clarity. So it's in the basic Pano that it's like the first tools that you're going to work with.
And
it's
so,
there.
Given that, if you're a cloud if you're getting it from the cloud, then just when they put it into the system or into the program, the next time you open it up, it's there?
No, you have to update. So they tell you there's an update. And then they also tell you what's new in the update. So if you think it's something that's useful, you update. That's one that they moved the dehaze filter, but they also moved, I don't know if you've used the camera profiles, which was also all the way at the bottom. And that's another feature that you would use first when you open up your image. So the camera profile is similar to if you shot a JPEG on your camera. It's like, oh, it looks beautiful. But when you do the RAW, it's like, oh, how come it doesn't have, those beautiful vivid colors like it did when it was on the back of the LCD? Well, the camera profile you can use, I know Nikon has some Canon that are built into Lightroom. So if you're using a Canon camera, then if you bring in an image, you're going to have the Canon.
It'll automatically recognize that that's okay.
It'll have the Canon or the Nikon camera profile.
Sony cameras covered there yet?
I haven't seen the Sony. I think they're working on other camera manufacturers.
Okay.
But if they don't, you can actually create your own. Mm-hmm. So you can use, Adobe has a standard one for all the other camera manufacturers. So you can start with that and then create your own. But you don't even have to do that because there's a new feature. So the profiles, those came up to the top as well. But what they did with the profiles, they added extra presets for the profile. So the standard was like neutral, landscapes, portraits. So now they have some for black and white where you can use one for using a green filter or using the red filter. And then they have, I think, some artistic presets. So you can start with those filters first, or I should say those profiles. And then once you do that, it's like you're getting a starting point for your images. Then you start working with like exposure, highlights, and shadows. And then you can perfect that image. So that's just kind of like your starting point.
Lavonne, representing Adobe, thank you so much for joining us today. Okay.
All right.
Thanks for stopping by.
Bye.
Alrighty, cool.
We are with Jason Mantell, who is with Sony Imaging Pro Support. He's one of the team members. He is the Northeast rep. So if you're in the Northeast of the U.S. and you need Pro Tech support, Jay's the guy. Anyway, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So Sony's been making some waves lately. Your the A9 is a success. The A7R3 is, and the
A7 III.
and the A7 III. All the threes.
All the threes.
Yeah, we're in the threes now. Yeah.
This is and you're talking to 2 out of 3 of us here are Sony A7 series aficionados. I bought the first one. And I think I'm on my 3rd or 4th one already, and I love the cameras. They're really, really, really good. Where are we going from here with Sony? What's the roadmap look like? Because you guys have you got the megapixels, now you have the speed, and you got the video, you got the size. Your batteries aren't frying anything and dying. Everything seems to be going much better right now. What's the next move?
Yeah, we're like right now we're in the sweet spot. We had cameras that did great things, but they couldn't do everything previously, and now we're right there. Like every current camera that's come out in the last 6 to 8 months can literally do everything. It can be your only camera. It happens to be small and portable, whereas previously, that was you got it because it was small and portable, but there were certain things it couldn't do, so you still had to have a second body or something. And now it can be your only body. Like the A9 is an absolute monster. It can replace anything in your bag and do pretty much everything. You need the resolution of the 7R3, and it's just unbelievable image quality and the speed, as you mentioned. So now, and then they all do great video, like unbelievable video features, all on full frame sensors. It's really insane kind of how much power these cameras have now. Obviously, I can't speak to future products, but...
no, it's just between us.
That's... Okay, so this thing in front of me, just here for show. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Tell us everything.
Obviously, we have some lenses in the works. We've announced the 400 will be coming because we need some really pro glass. So we have a 400 2.8 that's in development now that should be out. I think they said summer, I believe it was the timeline. So that's going to be a phenomenal kind of addition. And obviously, and we're excited kind of that the mirror, people call them mirrorless as if it's like a bad thing, but kind of I like to shy away from that.
Really?
It's just a camera.
I've never heard that. I don't know, seriously. I mean, Do you
Well,
really get that? I mean, do you
I
get that
think
kind of
people had
feedback?
it-
from
I mean,
people?
they're like there's DSLRs and there's mirrorless. Like
Yeah.
people kind of view them as
Separate.
because back in the day there were those
There
trade-offs.
were issues about mirrorless. The focusing was not as good.
Yeah.
There were issues with some of the viewing screens and things, but
Well, there's
that's-
issues with
and
DSLR
speed,
too. I mean-
yeah, but things I think those are all been nullified. I think it's a very clear playing field
Well,
right
let me
now.
ask about the idea that you guys, if I'm not mistaken, the original A7 is still for sale, right? I mean, you can still buy that at B&H, no?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so all 9 are still available, and then you have the A9. What do the first generation of buyers say to you when they look a year later and see the next iteration out, and they just spent $4,000?
Yeah, and that's the same at any company I've ever worked for, and anything. It's always you always get that guy who's like, oh, I just bought. Every time I buy a camera, a new one comes out a week later, and then you do this to me every time. It's like, yeah, we do it specifically to you. We wait for you to buy
Yeah.
your camera. I mean, these technologies
I
turn over.
knew they did that.
Yeah.
We watch
you're
it.
The
that
tape is
guy.
running, right?
You're that guy that
We
keeps
got you on
sending
tape.
those emails, right?
I mean, obviously the industry, I mean, all technology industries, they turn over so fast because
Sure.
technologies are growing and changing so
Yeah,
quickly.
but usually when a new model comes out, the old one vanishes fairly quickly. There might be a little bit of overlap from stock, but it's not just the A7 series, the RX 100, which came
Yeah.
out,
Yeah.
6 years ago?
Yeah,
We're up
Sony's-
to Series 5 now, and you can still buy the original. You can buy all of them.
I guess you could
Sony's
say
had
that's
a-
because they're so
And it's-
good, right?
It's price point, and they're all good cameras.
Yeah, that's the thing. Sony's had a history of kind of doing that. They keep things in the line because, to your point, right? I mean, sure, dealers have stock, but you could blow that up. Companies do that, but they're still great cameras. So yeah, it sets a price point. It's very important that the retail staff like B&H is great at that. They're educated so they can help inform people that this camera is great for that price, but here's what you're missing out on because things have changed in the last 6 years in some cases. But yeah, they're all still current, which for some people is a great thing. For some people, maybe it's confusing or something, but that's why education is such an important part of it.
And is Pro Support, is that a new, I'm sorry if I don't know this, but
No, it's-
is it, all Canon Professional Services, all the companies
And
have their-
Nikon, too.
and
I
Nikon.
was going to say the same thing.
Are
yeah.
you there for pro photographers as those branches of their companies are, or is this more about education to the general public?
No, so like specifically, that is what we
Okay.
are. The Pro Support Group. We're at every major sporting event right now.
Right.
We were at the Olympics. We're at the Super Bowl. We're at the U.S. Open of golf and tennis. Like we're there in a Pro Support suite, loaning, repairing gear.
Okay.
And to qualify to become a member, so you have to be a Sony product owner, okay? What about other qualifications? I mean, somebody goes out and they buy themselves an A9 or an A7 or whatever, and they say, hey, I want to join.
Yeah, so-
what are the requirements?
So if you've never seen it, there's a Sony Alpha Universe is our webpage,
Right,
our
okay.
universe devoted to all things Alpha. So on that page is a Pro Support link, and through that you can register. Basically, anyone can register, but to be an actual Pro Support member, like CPS or MPS kind of member, you need to have 2 full-frame cameras and 3 higher-end lenses, G lenses, Zeiss lenses, G Master lenses, anything like that.
Fair enough.
And then that would qualify. And you have to be a working professional. Like you have to be
You have to
taking
have some-
pictures for a
okay.
living, have a catalog portfolio website. And
Which
you
is
just-
essentially pretty much the requirements of any of the other major manufacturers who offer parallel programs. It's like you have to qualify.
Yeah, it's very-
you have to be published, you have to own the gear, and you got to be working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it comes with perks like expedited repair, loaners while your gear's in repair, discounts on repair, access to me, which is, to me is the biggest perk of all.
Absolutely, yeah.
But and we're out here supporting pros in the field. I work with many major agencies and newspapers. Same thing, loaning them gear, letting them try cool new stuff as it comes out. Supporting them if theirs has issues. All that is
What kind of feedback do you get from these shooters in terms of what they'd like to see in the next camera,
And that
Alpha camera?
one of the coolest things actually with Sony recently is their eagerness to listen to photographers and actually take their feedback and suggestions. So, for instance, we've come out with already a firmware update that specifically added things that people were asking for that are pros. They needed certain tagging and things, features in the camera to be added, and that was added via firmware, whereas other companies tend to make you wait for the next model. So Sony's very active in getting that feedback and then utilizing that feedback. So there's everything so far that we've been getting is something that we're trying to address in firmware rather than having to make a new camera.
And fair to say, though, that lenses are still the one thing that a lot of people are asking for from Sony or
Yeah, that was always one of the things. If you ask people, they'd be like, "Oh, Sony doesn't have enough lenses." And now I'd say 2018, like now at this point today, we're kind of past that. We have almost every major lens that somebody needs. So we have this full suite of f4 lenses, 16-35, 24-70, 70-200. Same thing at f2.8 with our G Masters, which are absolutely dynamite lenses. They're crazy sharp. We have super wide. We have a ton of primes, and now
Nice relationship.
Yeah, and now the universe has kind of expanded with the third party stuff. Tamron's announced some new lenses. Sigma's announced some new lenses, which to me is all a great thing. Like as much as this,
I've known a lot of manufacturers coming out with new lenses only in E-mount.
Yeah.
Which is terrific.
The
Voigtlander,
the Fearon
Fearons,
group from Tamron. Is it Tamron or
Tokina?
Tokina.
Tokina.
Let's get to this other question, which I'm sure you get all the time, is with all the attention on the E mount and the E cameras, what about the A line?
That's a good question.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously it's very much still a thing. I mean, the A99 Mark II is a phenomenal camera. It doesn't
do you have one over here?
We do not. No, we have all of our gear here, of course. And they're all still on display at B&H if you'd like to.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, obviously that's not currently where the wow factor is. Everybody wants to see the latest and greatest. And as of right now, the current A-mount line hasn't been updated in a little bit. But it's still very much a thing. A lot of people use it and love it. And you can use all the A-mount lenses on the E-mount cameras with full functionality with the adapter, with the right adapters. So it's still very much a thing, but obviously the main focus right now is on the E, because that's the thing that makes ours so different. A-mount has some advantages over competition, but it's still kind of the same concept. Whereas,
well, I must think, I mean, I guess in the general population, the E-mount, I see them on the streets all the time, and clearly they're the most talked about camera out there. But in the professional world, you probably see a lot more A-mounts. You see a lot of people working the A-mount at golf events or at tennis events, just because of the speed of the DSLR and
previously,
the long lenses and
yes,
et cetera.
but as of last year, that's where I started to notice this shift. So we were at a show last month called Shutterfest, and we saw a ton of people with A-mount cameras, but I'd say it was 50-50 with working pros now. Because, like I said, they might have used an A7R2 in studio, but that probably wasn't the best camera for them to use in a wedding type setting in low light and stuff. It wasn't made for that. Whereas now, any of the A7s, the Mark IIIs, or the A9 are phenomenal for that.
And then you also have the frames per second factor going for you right now. That used to be an issue. Your focusing is there now.
Absolutely.
Okay, that used to be questionable, and it took a lot of technology, the little leaps to be able to get there. You have frames per second. You got all this stuff. So I don't see how DSLRs. It's harder for me to defend them, and especially when I pick one up. When you've used those cameras for a while and you pick up a DSLR, and they're wonderful. Any of the flagship DSLRs are terrific. But I find it, I pick them up and I go, why is this camera so big?
Yeah.
That's what gets me
to
right
some
now.
people, it's literally just, there are some people that are unwilling to give up that form factor.
And I'll also say I happen to
know
know somebody who is still swearing by his full-blown DSLR because he likes the way it fills his hands. And you're always going to have that.
Yeah, exactly. There's always that person who's like, oh, it's different. I can't use it because it's different.
How many of the pro shooters put a grip on it on the A7 series to shoot it?
It's funny you say. So I deal with, obviously, these pros every day, and almost every one of them says, oh, I love the camera, but I need a grip. Which is funny because you're looking at this camera because it's smaller, and then the first thing you do is try to make it bigger. So pretty much everyone I deal with, I talk them out of the double battery grip because that's kind of an old school of thought. Like, you don't need 2 batteries anymore because with the new Z battery, it's unbelievable. So cool. So get that out of your head. You don't need 2 batteries. So then do you need this big grip underneath? No. So we make this awesome little pinky grip. So I say, try this. And they go, oh, that's perfect. That's all I need. And then truth be told, probably 8, 9 times out of 10, within a couple weeks of them using it, they're like, you know what? I stopped using that pinky grip. I didn't need it. It's just kind of, you need that transition to get your
off of it.
hand used to it. Yeah.
Oh, I get that. Yeah.
And that was myself included. Originally, I couldn't use it without that.
It's like a halfway house.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah, baby steps.
Exactly.
Baby steps to the office. That's
Cool. Anything else you want to throw at us? I mean, in terms of even down the line in terms of, well, you talked about the RX series a bit.
I mean, the newest, hottest, everyone is talking about the A7 Mark III.
Yeah,
I mean, because, it's called a, quote, basic model. But
Right.
you look at the specs, and this thing is absolute
all you need.
killer. Yeah. Image quality is
24
great.
megapixel is more than enough.
I mean, I can't
For just
speak for
about-
every
not every,
photographer.
yes.
Sure, some people need the resolution. They're making large prints or huge crops. Like, I get that. But yeah, the 7 III, we're using it here in our studio, and you mix that with essentially the A9 type focusing system, 693 points with the eye autofocus, so it tracks the eye anywhere in the frame. it's changed the way wedding and portrait shooters work specifically because now you can worry about your composition. Like the camera's going to focus on the eye. I don't have to move the focus point to just the right spot because if I work wide open, I end up with a nose in focus instead of an eye and the shot's ruined. You don't have to deal with that anymore. The camera does it and you can customize the camera. Is also another favorite of mine when I deal with these pros is because they're coming from another camera manufacturer. So they're like, oh, my button used to do this. Well, that's no problem. Like the Sony, I can customize pretty much every button and wheel and dial to do what you want. You can even change the direction they spin to match what you're used to. Because that people, I think, is the biggest hurdle to overcome is like it's different. And like, I want to use it, but I'm scared. Like because these people, they have muscle memory. They've been using the same camera for 30 years. So I sit down with them and say, it's okay. The first step is it's like therapy. You're like, it's okay to be scared. And then an hour later, they're like, oh, this isn't a big deal because it's a camera. Shutter speeds and f-stops.
And if someone came to you and said, I'm not sure to buy the A7 III or the A9, what would you tell them?
Yeah, so it's all about finding the right tool for the right person. And now we have a full line of them. So if you need resolution, that's what the R, right? R for resolution. A7R III, can't beat it. Awesome. If your main goal is to use it for silent mode, the A9 is the one. I mean, having the stacked sensor gives it unbelievable capabilities in silent mode. And even though other manufacturers say their cameras have a quiet or silent mode, you lose tracking autofocus, you lose exposure. Like there's crazy things. Whereas ours, whether it's in silent or mechanical, you lose no frames per second, no auto. Everything works exactly the same. So the A9 is incredible for the higher end sports shooter or someone who specifically needs silent. I work with a lot of guys from Lincoln Center, guys and gals, who do like Broadway type shooting, and to not have to put the camera in a blimp is like life changing for them.
Jason Mantell of Sony, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. All right. Okay, we are with Marc Farb of Sigma.
Good
Hi
morning.
there.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. I recently did a field test of the 14 millimeter art lens. Okay, I want you to know, great lens, but I hurt myself lifting it.
I swear,
it's that thing's big. Okay, but it's beautiful. I mean, the pictures they're taking are just absolutely gorgeous. Really big.
they are. Actually, what's funny is that with lenses like that have all that correction in there, first thing people, when they walk up and look at it, is that a fisheye? No. I actually pull out the 15 millimeter and sit it down next to them and give them a lesson on what a fisheye looks like versus, the corrected optic. The bubbles on the inside versus the bubble on the outside, which is correcting or you're parallaxing. But yeah, as far as an incredible optic, the 14, I mean, incredibly straight, no distortion.
Yeah.
To be able to look at a straight pillar, to do something architecturally, and it's incredible. I mean, I've dropped it onto actually a couple of DSLRs and even like a Black Magic and done some video with it. Oh, dear God, it's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. The close focus on it. The first thing I do is I'll have someone pick it up and take a look at a ceiling that has some kind of grid or light system in there to see how perfectly straight it is. And then I'll say, okay, go turn around and take a picture of me. So if you want to do environmental, and then I'll put my finger about 4 inches off the front element, and they're like, oh, wow. Like, yeah, this is a lens that you have to have in your bag. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's absolutely stunning. It's really been, the whole art lens series has just been real good. I've used, I don't know, maybe 5 of them already, and they're lovely. You guys are just hitting it real good.
Whatever's in the secret sauce.
I mean, I don't want to say change the industry, but it's changed third-party manufacturing of lenses, and it's changed everything. I mean,
like
everyone's following suit, and I guess the 2 other companies that we're not going to talk about, Canon and Nikon.
You no longer have to sneeze when you mention the name of the manufacturer. It's my
based
new
on what Sigma's doing. I mean, or tried to improve them anyway.
Yeah.
I'll even take it to a different level. When you get dirty looks from one of the guys from the other side of the pond, over in Germany, they're not real happy with it either because it's like,
exactly. Good point.
It's whatever they put in the secret sauce. It's good, and they gotta keep doing it because it's with all of the releases, there's not a dog in the bunch. No. Even when you go down into the contemporary series, just because it's a entry level type lens with a variable aperture, the optics are wicked sharp. I mean, the 18-300 is a great example. I've never been a fan of an all-in-one lens because, it's hard to do everything well. But I put that lens onto a 7D Mark II the first time it came out, and 7,000 frames later, I was changing the lens. I shot 3 days consecutively out in the Nevada desert. It was an off-road event, and the images are just mind-bending. And people look at it like, wow, I was shooting for the owner of a race. And when I turned around and handed him this body of work, and I'm like, you're not going to believe this. This was shot off of a consumer product. And, he's seen me roll in with the bags and all the good stuff, and he loves what he sees because this guy is nothing but about top shelf
And what's the
equipment.
variable? What's the max aperture at 300?
6.3.
6.3. Okay.
But it's to be able to zoom out 80, 90 yards and pick up a trophy truck, clearing a sand dune and have all the dust, the dirt, and look at the spark plugs under the hood. It's incredible.
So now that you've got pretty much all of the focal lengths covered, where is Sigma going right now? What kind of? Do you have any idea of like the next?
The 105 was not expecting to see a 105 1.4 come out. I mean, I've only seen the piece for about 5 minutes, but the few images that I saw come off it were like mind-bending.
I want to see what that does. I really, really do. I'm really curious about minimum focus on that. How tight does it get? Do you know offhand?
It's close. I mean, we were shooting less than 3 feet from
Okay, so that's
the front element.
Wide open, that's fun.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, 105 millimeter front element. So it's got the same front element as that 150 to 600 or a 120 to 300 in a lens that's probably about 6 inches, 7 inches long, weighs about 3 pounds.
So it's shaped like a cone.
Honestly, when I saw it the first time, it reminded me very much like the old Nikon F2, the 200 F2.
Yes.
So it's just short, stubby, and it's a brute. It's got its own little tripod collar on there, and it's like, wow, this thing is incredible. Like I said, I wish I had more time to play with it, but unfortunately, no. And it's on its way to the one and only piece that I know in existence is on its way to Europe right now for another show.
Really?
Yeah.
When do they expect to release this? You have any idea?
We don't. They haven't.
Don't.
We're hoping somewhere before the end of May. We're hoping.
Okay. Well, May is it's pretty close. It's not bad.
It could be 3-4 weeks, but we also don't even have map pricing on it yet, so
okay.
we're not sure. Again, Chris and I get asked probably 3 or 4 times a day is what's the price and when's it available. Same as the new E-mounts, which again, you were asking me yesterday about what's new and exciting. The fact that we have a whole line of primes coming up with direct FE mount, and it's the lens, the current lenses with the MC11 molded already into the lens, but the fact that you can also do a lens conversion and take your current Canon and Nikon pieces and turn them into a direct FE mount, which the guys at Sony are doing a happy dance because that means more, A9s and A7 IIIs are going out the door.
It would seem to me that the next place to go would be to be ultra telephoto primes, no, and make those kind of the what you see on the sidelines. I mean, I know Sigma has those. We still do. We still have some really long lenses in the lineup, and they're very good. Last year we introduced the 500 f4, so it would be interesting to see a couple of different things. I would love to see that 300 to 800 to get a sport makeover. Is that which is the big green?
That's the 200 to 500.
Is that just trotted out for shows now?
No. I mean, it's out there. Yeah. We sell a handful a year, and it's usually military or some kind of police department that's buying that.
Also, I understand. I know one filmmaker on a budget. They actually use it as a spaceship, I think, or
yes,
Captain Nemo's sub.
Actually, that was where I was going with it next. Next is that the independent videographers or cinematographers, because you throw that onto a Super 35 format, you now have a 750 millimeter f2.8 lens.
For cinema, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So when you're doing subject matter again that you can't physically be on top of, but yet you want that proper depth of field and you want the wherewithal to, again, get in tight, now you have it. And it's, to be honest, the cost of that lens versus like an Ingenue, you're right in the ballpark. I mean, think about it. A lot of your cine lenses run $20,000, $30,000 plus.
Easy.
It's a $24,000 lens. It's a bargain.
Yeah.
It's cool to see what we're doing with the products and the different directions that we're going with it. And it's interesting. Every day is a new adventure to wait and see what's coming next. We've got the new 70 macro, which is a reintroduction of one of the sharpest macro lenses in the world. Downside is that it's only available for Canon, Sigma, and will be for Sony out of the gate. The Nikon version of it, and here's
Really?
The odd part is the focus system it's a focus by wire. So now, of course, with the Nikon mount going to a magnetic aperture control, so you're kind of fighting the tide on that one.
Marc, thank you so much for joining us. Marc Farb, Signal Lenses.
Thank you for having me.
Great.
Thanks, Marc.
We're going to take a short break right now. We're going to come back with more from Depth of Field. Stay tuned.
We hope you're enjoying this edition of the B&H Photography Podcast. Send us a tweet at BHPhotoVideo, hashtag BHPhotoPodcast.
Okay, we are back again. We are at Depth of Field and with Casey Krugman of Luxli, which is an interesting LED lighting device. Picture a rear view mirror in your car that could put out, how much watt light does this thing put out now?
It's rated at 1200 lux at 1 meter, and that is from 3 to 10,000 Kelvin.
It's brilliant. It's not only about light and being bright and very, very small. The whole design is really fascinating, and the interface is terrific on this. I've been playing with it here for about 10 or 15 minutes, and just real fast on the back, you got a minimal amount of switches. But what I really like about it is the fact that not only can you go from, 5600 daylight?
Yeah.
And 34 and flip back and forth, but you can go infinitely down by dialing it. But not only are you watching your Kelvin going by, but it shows you the icons that you'd see in the back of your camera for cloudy, overcast, shadow, things that we relate to. And so you can see the Kelvin and the icon and dial it in. I'm going to let you talk the rest of the way here because it's a great product. So
well, that was one of the things when it came to the user interface. We worked very hard to make sure that it was as intuitive as possible, and also that you didn't need to specifically speak English to be able to use it. We wanted to make sure that it was very universal.
Yeah,
and so
literal.
Of course the icons are all standard for the white balance settings and for the white presets, so why not use them? I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
So we did the same thing when it came to the RGB mode. We actually do a spectrum up top, so you're able to see exactly the range of the color. We also give a degree, which is based on the 360 color wheel. And then it also gives you around the 360 color wheel number that is displayed, it actually gives you a little bit of a preview of what the color will look like. And then also, when you get into RGB mode, you're able to control saturation on the unit as well. You can go from 100% all the way down to 20%, and it'll reduce the actual saturation of the colored light that's coming out. So
I'm astonished the range of color you get. You're getting from very, very precise color balances to just pure process colors just by flipping buttons and switches here. The range is pretty intense.
It's pretty incredible, yeah, and really it's easy to use, yeah. And the battery comes with it, I'm assuming? Or
yeah, it comes with
separate?
a Sony L series style battery, 750, which will give you about an hour to an hour and a half when it comes to full blast. And then it comes with a charger and basic shoe mount ball head. So you're ready to shoot as soon as you get out.
Right.
Now, you could also operate this remotely with an app. Is that correct?
Correct. It has Bluetooth built into it, and we just released our Android version of the app, and we've had our iOS version. Both of them have been updated recently so that they can use the new built-in filter mode, the digital gel filter mode that we have in these cello units. You have 150 filters to play with. They go from technical to the more creative filters as well. So you start off, you have a chroma key green and a chroma key blue preset, so you can just throw that up against a white wall, and you'll be able to use that instantaneously as a nice little backdrop, or just help out any green screen that you actually bring with you. And
That's brilliant.
And then we go into the technical, so you have your plus green down to minus green, and we go down to an eighth in each of them. So you'll have plus, 3/4, half, whatever. And then we also do the same thing from double CTB to double CTO, so you'll be able to use all of those in order. And
I didn't realize you had that. That is phenomenal. And then dialing in CTOs, that's great.
Yeah, and then you also have a bunch of creative filters, so you can have your presets and be able to do everything you want to do. The nice thing is that it's not just an RGB mode where we're just recreating it using the RGB. You can see, and on the website you'll be able to see this, the white balance is still listed in the filter mode. You're able to change the base white balance of the filter, and on the unit itself, it will recalculate what the light is output as if you were just draping a gel filter over the front of it. So you're really able to get incredible accuracy and treat it as if you had a tungsten or another LED light matching the color temperature that's being put out and then just draping a gel filter over the front of it.
Who are you seeing buying it then? I mean, is it a videographer who wants to set up several stands around an area, or is it someone who's just going to put it on their camera? I think
it's a little bit of both, because you have the Bluetooth built into it, you have the app control, and the nice thing about that is you can control and push the same settings to multiple lights simultaneously. So let's say you're doing an event and you have multiple shooters out there, you can come in, bring all your camera gear in and say, okay, everybody's set to this white balance, and then you can say, all right, everybody's setting to the same white color temperature. So you know that you're shooting the same thing at the same settings, and now you're producing the exact same light. So you have full consistency across it. And when it comes to consistency, one of the ways that we're really proud of the technology in here, and we are not afraid to show how accurate we are when it comes to our panels, each cello is actually going to come with a photometric calibration sheet. Now, what that means is within each unit, they're going to have this sheet that's going to tell you per serialized panel what the TLCI and CRI measurements are, and those are going to be listed from 3 to 10,000 Kelvin, and you'll see that we maintain a 97 plus TLCI from 3 to 10,000 Kelvin. You're also going to get your lux rating depending on the Kelvin settings. So you're going to see that we also deliver 1200 lux from 3 to 10,000 Kelvin. You're also going to get your color gamut readings from the RGB panel. You're going to get your beam angle, and you're going to get a lot of information out there that basically says, look, we did it. We're not hiding anything from you.
Each unit is individually calibrated, and you get it documented as to exactly where this unit stands.
Absolutely.
It does not really get more pro than that, because especially if you're dealing with multiple cameras and lights, and you have to have everything being in agreement about what the color of the color is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's better to do it. It's better to have it done in camera than in post.
Tell me within the line, what other sizes and what other products do you guys put out?
Well, right now,
and this is the cello.
Yeah, this is the cello. This is the light that we've had out for about a year, which was our first light that we came out with, is named the Viola. We're going to be releasing a 1x1 studio panel, which is going to be based off the same technology sometime this summer, and that's going to be called the Timpani. So here's the theme. It's called the Orchestra Series, and the app, of course, is called the Conductor. So you're going to have the whole shtick right there.
That's wonderful. I like that.
And more information can be found
at luxlilight.com, and of course BH Photo.
And BH Photo, and that's Luxli.
Luxli.
Yep, the Luxli cello.
And again, there's a lot of LEDs here at this show, and we've seen them go through the store. This is different. This one stands out from the pack.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
This isn't just like something that looks like it was designed by some engineering student, and it works very well. This is a whole concept, and this is a whole system.
We've been working. I appreciate that. We've been working with a team over in Norway for about 2 years developing the technology. And then we've been working on, making sure the accuracy there and doing all of the engineering and the app design all over in Norway. It's even manufactured in Norway.
Which means it's fjord tough.
It is fjord tough.
Tough.
Exactly.
Okay, Casey, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot, Casey.
We are with Rudy Winston of Canon. Hey, long time no see.
Oh, it's great to be back.
We are coming towards that time of year when new toys start coming to market now.
We have a first half introduction period and typically a second half introduction period, which is usually in the fall. We did have some interesting things in the first half, though. The EOS M50 mirrorless camera was introduced and is brand new to the marketplace. And that's an interesting, to me anyway, an interesting and noteworthy camera in the lineage of the Canon mirrorless line. It's interestingly, if you look at the specs and the features, that is an entry-level camera. We're not targeting the M50 at the serious enthusiast or certainly the working pro necessarily. But if you look at the features on that camera, you can make the case that that is the best and most fully featured entry-level interchangeable lens camera Canon has ever made.
Now, spec-wise, give us a short spec list. What is it?
The camera can shoot 7.4 frames a second with continuous servo autofocus.
Okay.
Which is a lot faster than a Rebel can, and that's a level that only a few years ago professional top-of-the-line digital SLRs were working at.
And the sensor size is?
It's an APS-C
sensor,
yeah,
yes.
it's an APS-C sensor. So it's, in that regard, the same as the other mirrorless cameras we've had in the EOS M series line up to this point. But the camera can shoot, up to 10 frames a second if you lock the focus. It has the dual pixel CMOS autofocus, which is very fast.
Yeah.
It's not only fast, they've got more focusing points, more control in the focusing system, and it covers with certain lenses an even wider area of the picture. There's a lot of things on that camera that actually make it a very compelling entry-level alternative to a traditional digital SLR. Again, I'm not saying it's the right product for, the high-end, serious, dedicated SLR enthusiast. But I think for a lot of people, this is the first EOS M series camera that really kind of checks pretty much all the boxes. So that was an important introduction for us. Another one, and I'll be talking about this later today in one of our workshops, is the Speedlight 470 EXAI, which
emphasis on the AI.
Right. The auto intelligent bounce system is what that flash brings to the marketplace. The world's first flash that can actually either A, calculate its own bounce angle, or B, you can set what you think is the right bounce angle. And then if you switch from horizontal to vertical, just tap the shutter button twice and it'll automatically reposition itself to maintain that bounce angle. So even for the high-end experienced photographer, if you're in a situation where you want to do bounce with a single flash on the camera and you need to work quick, it gives you the ability to shoot horizontals and verticals without that time spent with the camera away from your eye, having to kind of reposition the bounce angle when you go to vertical or whatever. So that's an intriguing piece, and we think it's going to, flash for any of the camera companies is an important part of our business. And this, is an effort, I think, on the part of our engineers and product planners to kind of reinvigorate that product category for Canon. We've certainly done well with the Speedlight 600 series with the radio transmission, which we introduced. Many of our high-end users love those, and obviously that's going to continue to remain a mainstay in our flash lineup. But 470 EXAI was another important introduction that'll be available come May or June, I believe. It'll begin to ship to dealers. But of course, the announcement of it was already made.
Yeah.
Why aren't flashes going to rechargeable batteries then?
We get a lot of people asking that, and I don't have an honest answer. I mean, we've suggested
there actually is one on the market now. I
I remember we talked about it, but it would seem to be a natural.
Honestly, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We've talked about, wouldn't it be cool if you could, use for instance, the rechargeable LPE6 N battery pack that we have for like the 7Ds and the 5Ds and so on. They've been around for a long time now, so many of our high-end photographers, already have a stash of those.
Absolutely.
And you would think that they would power a Speedlight pretty effectively. But up to now, the engineers have chosen to go with AA's. It may be the easy availability of AA's. You got the option of obviously rechargeable nickel metal hydride AA's, which isn't quite as convenient as a single battery pack, but it does.
But you said it best. I mean, because I already have a second camera battery in my pocket, and the flash is going to go first before the camera battery.
Probably.
You take that and you throw that in there, and you're good to go, and you rotate if you need to, and it doubles. AA's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, we'd love to see it. The engineers have never given a specific answer as to why, up to this point, they haven't. Clearly, it's still not something that we're seeing a lot of in the industry. I wouldn't be, and I'm not winking at you as I say this or anything.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if within a couple, 3 years, we start seeing just industry-wide more of that. As battery technology continues to get better and better.
Yeah.
What else is new?
Well, one other one that isn't brand new, but it is still kind of new in the line that people have heard about, no doubt, if they're into the craft of digital SLRs. The 85 millimeter 1.4 lens with the image stabilization. That came out last year, 2017. A marvelous addition. And a lens that we actually did a presentation on, the 85 millimeter series of lenses that Canon has earlier today, because this is a program that concentrates on the wedding, portrait, and event photographer type application. But that 85 1.4 is it's the sharpest 85 millimeter lens we make. All the others are all good, but this is, if you're really picking nits, this is the highest performance one, even wide open. The image stabilization changes the whole dynamic of working with that type of lens in low light. With that 4-stop correction, I made the point in the presentation that if the average, and it's not that 4-stop correction with image stabilization is, unheard of in the industry. Obviously, many lenses now from different companies have optical image stabilization or some form of stabilization. But the beauty of that in real world terms is if the average photographer could say that, hey, in low light, the slowest speed I could normally safely handhold an 85 millimeter lens was, let's say, a 60th of a second. 4 stops of stabilization means you can handhold that lens with a stationary subject, of course, at a quarter of a second, which is, and again, I'm not saying this is, unique in the industry or whatever, but what is unique is this is right now the only interchangeable lens, 85 millimeter with an f1.4 aperture and image stabilization built in right now. That combination and the optical power of that lens, the sharpness of it, if you're thinking something to go beyond one of the f2.8 professional zoom lenses, if you're a working photographer with maybe a 24-70 and or a 70-200 2.8, and you're looking for a way to go beyond what those have, not to get rid of them, but to join your system, any of the 85s are a great fit, and that new 85-1.4 is just sweet.
Okay, Rudy, Winston, always great chatting with you. We look forward to having you back again.
The pleasure is always mine. Delighted to be here at the Depth of Field event. Delighted to work with the team at B&H. It's an opportunity, and I thank you folks for granting it to me.
Our pleasure. Thank you, sir.
You bet. Thank you.
We are with Gregg Lee, who's the senior product trainer, one of the senior product trainers with LG Electronics, and he's joining us here today. LG's got a bunch of monitors right across the way here. It's an interesting thing. Photography has become pretty much all digital, and even people who are shooting film quite often are taking their stuff and scanning it, and ultimately it's digital output. And where are we looking at our pictures ultimately? On a monitor. And for most people, that means their phone or their tablet. And if they're working at home or in office, they do have a monitor, but monitors aren't all the same.
No.
And not at all.
At all.
And no, it's an amazing thing. I know people that, they spend tons of money on cameras, okay? And they're looking at their pictures on a monitor that you buy like by the pound. It's a great deal,
right.
And the numbers sounded, but there's a big difference. So what separates your LG from the pack? What are some of your features that you have? Well, what are things that people should be looking
for photographers?
For photographers, exactly.
Well, we just feel you should look at LG, and then everything just falls to the wayside. So, no, those are excellent questions because, I also shoot photography, and there's really a major issue for me sometimes when I'm shooting, bringing it into a monitor, I do my editing, and everything looks fine and dandy, and then I go to print it, and it's like, well, this does not match up. So what LG does is we have, monitors that basically adhere to the same color standards that you're typically using in cameras. Mm-hmm. So sRGB is what a lot of people typically shoot with. We have monitors here that will cover that range. They come from the factory color calibrated, and you even have the ability over the life of the monitor to go in and do hardware calibration. So as the monitor ages, you can make sure that what's coming out of your camera and what you're seeing on the screen are a perfect match. Now, the printing side of things, there's a whole other calibration there that's outside of the range. But it's...
What happens to a monitor as it ages? What are the things you're going to see as a monitor ages that would take away from...
And how soon do you start noticing these changes?
Well, it typically happens so slowly that you don't really see it, but it exists. And a lot of it is brightness. Things come out of the box searing bright, and they slowly get dimmer over time.
It's like a tungsten bulb. They look great, Similar. But if you compare a new and an old bulb, the old one's dimmer and warmer.
Exactly. So it's nice to be able to go into the monitor, have a calibration package, and say, okay, red still looks like red, but green seems to be a little bit more yellowish, so I can now compensate, in the way that I'm driving the panel to make sure that everything stays consistent. So it makes sure that your workflow stays accurate over the life of the product, and it really actually speeds things up. So when you go to print and you're working on a calibrated printer system, everything matches up. So that's one of the things that we like to do, make sure that the colors are there. Another thing is that if you work collaboratively, if you're working within advertising group and everybody's looking over your shoulder and you're looking at the same screen but from different angles, we don't realize that a lot of the LCD panels and these LED monitors are not great off axis. You have
that's true. Yes.
Twisted pneumatics. You have vertical aligned crystals, and we use in-plane switching. Not that you know the difference, but the key thing is with in-plane switching, if you're dead on center, which is where most people edit from, it looks fine on everything. But if I'm reviewing something with a counterpart and they're to my right and our director of advertising is to the left, they may be seeing totally different shades of green or colors of red on the same monitor just because of where they're viewing it. So we all agree that the color's right. When it prints, I'm happy, and the two of them are like, wait a second, that is a much deeper red, or that's a much more solid green than the seafoam green we thought we were looking at. So you want a monitor that, adheres to the standards, which we work really closely to do. Second thing is that, if you work collaborative, you want a monitor that looks great to everybody, and it's also accurate. So IPS is a technology that LG has been deploying not only in our computer monitors, but also our televisions at home, which allows you a wider viewing angle with the consistency of performance and color as well. So it's a technology we've hung our hat on, and a lot of graphic professionals out there, photographic professionals, have also picked up on the fact that this IPS panel technology provides a more consistent color rendition regardless of where they are when they're editing. Because sometimes I've got an older monitor that I use just for review, but if I move up or down, I can make the contrast better or worse just by simply moving my head 3 inches. Sure. So as we're looking at the monitors across the show floor here, even off axis, I mean, the brilliance of the fireworks that are on the screen right now are bright, they're solid, they're dramatic, and if I walked right in front of it, they would look exactly the same.
How often should a monitor be calibrated? Because I think for a lot of people, it's like changing the oil in the car. They know it's time to change when the car don't start, or the job is returned by the client. So how often should this be done?
It doesn't hurt to do it, more often. There are calibration packages out there that you can get and self-do this and get very close results and very consistent results. Doesn't hurt to do it, once a year, twice a year would be better. Every quarter, probably even more consistent. And if you're working where accuracy is real important, quarterly would probably be a good solid number.
And what model would you recommend? What's
that was my next question.
Latest, greatest for a photographer, let's say.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you're doing photography, several options, and I would say that one that we've been pointing out today is our 34-inch UM88. It's a reasonably priced. It's a 34 ultra wide, which normally we're used to seeing a 4:3, 16:9 aspect ratio, 16:10 maybe. This is 21:9.
That's the second unit there?
Yeah, it's the second unit, one to the second from the left. I'm sorry, second from the right.
Right,
the first
the
on the left.
21:9 ultra wide. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, if I learned give you directions, we'd be better off. But the 21:9, the thing I like about it is if you go to a really large monitor on your desk, you end up having to lift your head up and down and you're nodding. Here it's more or less just a tennis match. You're moving left and right. Yeah. We have two eyes. They're horizontally opposed to one in each other. So having the extra space is great. I can put 3 documents of information on there, or I could have a full 16:9 image and still have a control panel to do editing for photo or video or whatnot on the same screen. sRGB, so with the color space we're using for photography, typically Type-C USB connections, and it's color calibrated out of the box. So put it on your desk, even if you don't calibrate it with hardware, software. Should be a good match to start and get you going.
We were talking about earlier on where if you're standing a few degrees off left or right, you're seeing a different image, a different color, contrast, whatever. Does the curved screen correct that if you're seated there centrally, you turn your head left and right? Is it an even field as far as what your eye is receiving?
It depends on the set, actually.
Okay.
But it would help a little if a monitor did not do well off axis in terms of color saturation by keeping the plane of the monitor more flat to you, but it'd only be applicable more or less to one person. If you had 2 or 3 people, in a collaborative environment, because they were off axis, it may even exacerbate the problem.
So what would the advantage be then of a curved screen?
It looks cool.
Okay.
It's funny. It's kind of a personal preference. There are arguments being made that it cuts down on the reflectivity in the environment. We should keep the lights down low anyway.
Yeah.
Second thing is it's supposed to keep the unit from the seated position, like you said, more or less in parallel. And it does give the perception of more depth in the image.
I would imagine a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it kind of teases and fools your brain to thinking, oh, this image looks a little bit more, immersive. But, in photography, we shoot on a flat sensor, we shoot on flat film, we print typically on flat medium, and we're going to edit on a curved device. It really comes down to personal preference. Some people like the look of the curve just because it's unique and different. There's not necessarily a performance disadvantage to it, but there's not really that much of a performance advantage either. So whatever you're happy with, we have a solution, flat or slightly curved.
Did LG ever consider coming out with a screen like a shaded screen so that the picture will look like what it looks like on the person's phone?
No, but you can probably get an overlay that simulates that you stick on there. If not, you and I have got a new business opportunity we need to discuss.
We'll talk. Okay.
So, the broken iPhone review monitor.
Awesome. Okay, Gregg Lee from LG. Thank you so much for stopping by. Great talking with you.
Thanks for hanging out. This was too much fun. Let's do it again sometime.
You got it. We are now joined by Pano Kalogeropoulos. Anyway, Pano K is with us here.
Hey guys, how's it going?
And Pano is he's the photographer-in-chief. He's also the head muckety-muck at TogTees. If you listen to our podcast, a few months back, I did a whole thing on TogTees, which are really cool T-shirts and caps and sweatshirts and hoodies that we started carrying at B&H. And they're real fun, and they're all photographic. And little things like ISO 800 or 35 millimeter or all kinds of things. One of my favorites is the old time, it looks like Nathan's hot dogs thing. It says photography since 1827 in that funky old deluxe lettering. And they come in great colors. There's a Sunny 16 hat and a lot of things that if you're into photography, you get it, you smile. And the colors are good.
And the design
and the designs are wonderful, and they make you smile and giggle. And tell us about it. Where did all this come from? Whose brainchild was this?
Sure, absolutely. So I've been a photographer for about 20 years. Started off shooting film for the first 10 years, then digital for the next 10, and started going back to film recently. And basically a couple years ago just had the idea that there isn't really a line of nice, high-quality shirts for people who are really into photography. There's a lot of really bad stuff out there.
There is, yes.
A lot of marketing T-shirts floating around there.
Yeah, there's a lot
Swag.
of stuff you don't really want to wear, but we wanted to make something really nice, something that people would be, excited to put on and go outside. And it's not cheesy. It doesn't just say,
it's fun.
I'm a photographer or something. It's something kind of a little more neutral, a little more mild. You can wear it out. It's stylish. It's cool. It tells people that you're into photography without shouting it at you.
And there's no brand names.
No brand names, that's right.
Which means you can switch to Sony without having to...
Exactly, yeah. I just got together with a friend of mine who's a graphic designer, and I'm the photographer, he's the graphic designer. We worked together really closely to come up with original, unique designs. Launched it a couple years ago, and what we've done since then is we've partnered with a couple of big local photographers in Philadelphia, where we're based, to come out with their own unique, original designs, and that's worked really well for them and for us. They get to get their own unique design that they didn't have before, and we get to kind of come up with new ideas. For
and that's example, a marketing T-shirt for them?
No, I'll give you an example, like the audio-visual design, which is one of our popular enamel pins.
I love that
and
logo.
T-shirt. Yeah, we came up with this with a guy named Darren Burton, who's an Instagram photographer, big name in Philly, and he had this hashtag about how he posts a picture and then a song to go with it, so it was audio-visual diary. So we thought of a way to combine both cameras and music, audio and visual, and so we sat down, hashed it out for a few hours, and came up with this idea of an SLR camera with a vinyl record player as the lens.
Yes.
And so now people are buying this all over the world, even though it's kind of like a Philly-specific photographer that we came up with the idea. It doesn't really matter because it's a general appeal. It's a cool design. People like it. It talks about kind of hearkening back to the more analog age, right?
Sure. Oh yeah, the camera itself looks like an Instamatic, really.
Yeah.
It's got that, and then it's undeniable that you look at the lens and you realize it's a turntable, and there's the arm and the needle on it, and it's a fun logo, and the colors are good, and the quality looks great. In fact, you're wearing one of your T-shirts and one of your caps right now.
That's right.
And they're great stuff. It's fun, photography is a fun thing, and this is just a fun extension of it. It gives you a chance to have a giggle and, have a cap or a shirt or a sweater that just shows what you do and
which ones
what you love about
tend to
it.
sell the best?
Yeah, what is best?
So surprisingly, since we launched a couple years ago, the ISO 800 has been the number one bestseller. Yeah. And what's funny is when we first launched it, everyone would, write on the comments on Facebook and whatever, why 800? I like, 400 or
I
100.
would have gone 400 myself.
Yeah. And I think
I'd gone 50. Velvia.
And I think the answer, originally was I'm a low light shooter myself. I've done a lot of night photography, and so I prefer higher ISOs, particularly in film photography. But then the other answer is, 800 kind of makes a statement in a way that 400 doesn't, right? And also in a way that 100 doesn't. I mean, 100 says that you shoot in broad daylight. Okay, that's fine, but that's not as interesting as 800, right? And so I think it worked really well as a sort of create conversation and spark, arguments about why we chose that, but it's been by far the number one best-selling design, which is kind of wild.
That's great.
And you market, distribute, it's all, you're doing it all? You're getting them out there to people?
Me and my friend, we do come up with the designs. We use a couple local high-quality printers to print stuff, and we use local guys so that we can make sure it's up to, the quality that we want. Mm-hmm. We are actually there all the time, making sure they're printing stuff right, because it seems easy, just like maybe a one-color design or two-color design, and but there's a lot of ways to screw it up, and there's a lot of ways to print it so that it doesn't last a long time or it doesn't look right, and so we want to make sure that everything we send out is really high quality. That was always the focus from the beginning. These are not super expensive shirts, but they're definitely not cheap shirts, and the feel is the material is really soft, but it's also durable. It's not going to stretch. It doesn't thread. So we focused a lot on just maintaining the really high quality, and so that's why we actually do the design, we monitor the printing, and we do the fulfillment ourselves to make sure that it's the way we want it to look.
Can you give us an example or a few examples of some of the designs and some of the images?
Yeah, absolutely. So just one fun fact, if you go on our website or on Instagram, all the product images you're seeing, we've shot ourselves. So we design the products, we find local photographers that we're friends with or that we know we work with to model them for us, and then we take the pictures ourselves. So, our number one is the ISO 800. Another top one is the photography since 1827. And that was obviously an idea we came up with of that sort of baseball retro script.
Yes.
Some other designs that we have that are popular is our 1980s tee. It's based on a Contax T2, but the vibe that we ended up coming up with, and it comes in kind of bright green and a bright blue. So we kind of made it the 1980s tee because it was a little more neon-y than the rest of our designs. We got the 35 millimeter, which is actually our best-selling hat. We have.
Is that okay?
Yeah, if you look up a hashtag 35 millimeter hat on Instagram, you'll see a ton of them. People get them all over the world. There's a bunch of different colors, and people love them. We also have some mugs as well. But we've launched over 35 designs in the past 2 years. So there's a lot of cool stuff out there. Some of them are a little more esoteric. Like, I'm wearing right now the Sunny 16 hat. It just says 16 with a little sun over the eye. So,
and you got to be a photographer to get that,
exactly.
Especially an analog photographer.
Yeah, so you won't really know that unless you kind of know your photographic history a little bit. And then there's other ones like we have an F8 and Be There shirt.
Yes.
So website again and Instagram. Where do we find it? Where do people find you?
Sure. So it's www.togtees.com. That's TOGTEES. And our Instagram is @TogTees. We're also on Facebook. And you can always shoot us a message on Instagram or email us at hello@TogTees. We always respond. People send us ideas and stuff from all over the world.
Do you custom make stuff?
We do if it's the right quantity. We can't do one-offs, but if you got like a photo club, we've done work for photo clubs or other organizations that want to do a run of, say, 30, 50 shirts, we'll do that.
And also, just about everything is on our website. Some of the newer items, there are no photographs there yet.
Yep.
But that will be catching up.
We're working on that.
I love this stuff. It's a lot of fun. It's up. It's a giggle. And a nice cap and a nice T-shirt. It's always a good thing to have.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Good present.
All right. Pano, thank you so much for joining us.
All right. Thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it.
All right, we are back at Depth of Field, and we are with Stephen, take your choice, Gomez, and he's with
Godox.
Godox.
Yep.
And one of the principal sponsors of the event.
We might add that too. Godox is one of the sponsors of this lovely event we have here. So, Godox is getting a lot of press around here and a lot of good words and things. Everyone seems to be talking up about it. What's the big deal?
Well, the big deal is that they are one of the only companies that comes out of China that's actually able to produce products that keep up with the major brands like Profoto and Broncolor. Their flagship light right now is the AD600 Pro, which is a 600-watt monolight, battery-powered, that has a recycle time of full power at less than a second. So you're able to fire very quickly at full power and keep color consistency among all those shots.
And how many watt seconds is that?
600.
600.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Their other big seller is the AD200, which is their pocket strobe. It's literally the size of maybe a small brick, and it's 200 watt seconds. And what's really cool about it is that it has removable heads. So you get a bare bulb head, very similar to like a quantum head.
Yeah.
And you can put a speed light head on it. So you could use all your mag mod accessories or your other speed light accessories, or you can take it off altogether. You get the adapter that they make called an AD-DB2 and combine two AD200s together, and you end up with a 400 watt second strobe.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's maybe the most versatile light on the market right now.
You guys have a whole line of lights over there. I mean, everything from small flashes to these big strobes, right?
Yeah, we've brought over, at the booth, we have all the monolights. So we have the AD600 Pro. We have the older version, which is the AD600 BM, which was the original version. With the AD600 BM, we also have the extension head. So you actually could turn the head itself into a pack and then just boom out a 2-pound head that has a Bowens mount on it. So you can have a very lightweight package booming over a subject. Because the heads themselves can be on the heavier side. The AD600 Pro is about 7.5 pounds, and the original is about 6.5. And then we have the AC powered strobes that vary in wattage from 400 watts to 600 watts. And there's also there's also a 600 watt AC strobe that also recycles in about 1 second and has a flash duration of about 1/20,000th of a second. And over at our booth, at our main info booth, we have all the speed lights, the lithium rechargeable speed lights, which is another big thing for Godox.
That's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, that's the reason why I started shooting Godox to begin with, was because I shot a lot of weddings, and I hate AA batteries with a passion. And I found that these, shooting at full power, they say they're ready for about 300 flashes, but really you're pushing a lot more than that. And if you're shooting less than full power, I've shot an entire wedding on one speed light with one lithium battery, maybe 3,500 shots, and I never had to replace the battery.
Now, somebody also mentioned, one of our other guests earlier today was talking about this unit, and they mentioned that in high-speed sync mode, it's actually putting out more light than some of the big boys across the aisle.
Yep, absolutely. The AD200 or the AD600?
I don't recall. Do you?
The AD600 in high-speed sync, you're going to lose about one stop of full power. If you're compared to other brands where you see up to 2 stops of light loss.
That's what we were told. And that's a lot.
It's big time. If you're a photographer that shoots on location outdoors, you're doing a lot of like the urban street portraiture, and you're using high-speed sync, having that extra power to fight the sun in the middle of the day is a big advantage.
Yep. No, that's pretty tremendous. That's
well,
big stuff.
One of the other comments we got earlier, and I don't know if it was off the record, but it's not anymore, is that Godox is scaring some of the bigger companies.
Yeah.
And they're putting out a really good product at a more affordable price. So how long has Godox been around?
Well, just for clarity, I don't work for Godox.
Yeah.
I'm representing here.
Yeah,
I work for B&H. But I've done a lot of studying on the company because they're so cool. I find them so interesting. They've been around since '93.
Okay.
They've been OEMing for a lot of other companies for a long time.
Right.
So a lot of third-party flashes you see on Amazon or other places, other markets are most likely made by them. They have like 4 really big facilities in China where they produce these products. They have a really big R&D staff of about 15 people, if I remember from reading their bio not too long ago. They'll do a lot of their own research and development. They're not, a lot of these brands get flack for copying other brands. But they're actually, they're doing the research and putting out a unique product like the AD200, which you don't see very often. And I believe, if I'm not wrong, I'm not 100% sure on this, but if memory serves right, they were the first company to produce a speed light that was powered by a lithium-ion battery.
That is correct.
Yeah, they were the first ones.
Yeah, that was that big push.
If you're familiar with speed lights, they all have the same interface.
Yeah.
You can go from Canon to Nikon to Panasonic to Godox to whoever, and if you're familiar with speed lights, you get it.
And so the bigger strobes that you're talking about, that's a new product?
Yeah.
That's a new line of products?
So there was the 8600, which made really big waves, I think about 2 years ago when it first came out. 600-watt monolight, battery-powered. You got 500 flashes at full power. And then they had all these different accessories that went with the light. So it was a Bowens-mounted light, so you had access to tons of modifiers, right? All you just need is the right speed ring. The battery, high capacity, and what they came out with too was a AC pack. So you took the battery off, put on the AC pack, and now you're able to plug right into the wall, and you had a full-on AC strobe for your studio. That light got a lot of press. A lot of photographers really liked it. A lot of the younger generation photographers really liked it because it was light, portable, easy to use outdoors. So they came out with this new version, the 8600 Pro, and it's probably my favorite light. I mean, I've used lighting equipment from almost every brand, and I've switched over almost entirely to Godox. The 8600 Pro's recycle time at full power is less than a second. So if you're somebody like me who likes to work with one light, one big light, like a 4-foot octa or a 5-foot octa, you can just shoot and shoot and shoot. And they say you're supposed to get 360 flashes at full power. But if you're shooting less than full power, then you're getting thousands of shots before you ever have to change out the battery. And the price point is really what sells a lot of people on it, because you're getting a lot of high-end features that you would see from their competitors for a very low price point, maybe less than half of what you'd pay.
A question about that, just to go back to the lithium-ion battery in this, is that a battery that can come out, or do you have to charge? Oh, okay.
You can they're all removable. So,
so you can't flip a battery and keep working.
Yep, absolutely.
And what's the recharge time on that?
If you have a completely dead battery, you're looking at about 2 hours to recharge it to full.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And if you're recharging it from half, which is what I normally do, you're looking at about 45 minutes.
And you sell batteries separately too, because you're going to need more and more.
Yep,
right? Yeah.
Batteries are sold separately for the speed lights, the AD200 pocket strobe, and the AD600, both versions.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great.
You guys going to look into LEDs at all? Because everybody's doing LEDs, and you're a flash company. Are you guys exploring that possibility?
Well, Godox does produce LEDs as well. They produce LED panels. They do chip-on-board LEDs. They're in that whole constant light as well.
Steve Gomez, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
All righty. Bye-bye. And we are joined by John Kreidler, and he's with Leica, and you are the product specialist, East Coast Professional products,
right.
Which includes which cameras now?
The S and the SL.
Okay, not the M's. You don't consider the M's?
M's are used by professionals, but they're currently not under that.
So what are they classified as?
A great camera.
That's okay. Leica is an interesting company, and everybody knows it was, the 35 millimeter cameras all evolved from that, based on motion picture film back in the 20s. And then the camera just kept developing, and in 1954, the first M came out, the M3.
Correct.
And that became sort of a standard for the industry and remained so for the longest time. And even though you might actually say that it was the first mirrorless cameras was actually
exactly.
Leica. They didn't have mirrors in them; they're rangeFinders. What I find particularly amazing about Leica, and again, if the name is not familiar to you, you got a lot of research to do. What I find amazing is that the M3 came out in 1954, and if you look at all of the current M cameras,
correct,
film and digital, and you make them both. All right,
right.
They are almost dead ringers for the original camera. The concept, the whole philosophy, the design never changed. And here we are, almost 60-something years later?
Correct.
And you can now take almost all of the original lenses and use them on the newest bodies and vice versa.
Correct. I believe there's only 3.
Is it 21 millimeter that
21
won't work?
Super Angulon, a couple of those that have, basically it's the rear lens flange would go too far into the body.
Right.
So it would work once, and then the sensor is destroyed. So,
it's a one-shot pony.
It's a one-shot deal, but totally worth it.
Yeah, but the picture quality is awesome.
It
that
is
one
incredible.
picture that you get.
Unbelievable, some might say.
I don't know of any other camera company that could actually carry that kind of philosophy for so long and have it still work. And I think it's also amazing that not very long ago, in the grand scheme of things, Leica was really on the brink of maybe not even existing for a while.
Correct.
And now, not only is the M become is still a mainstream camera, but you have these new cameras out. You have the S cameras, which are phenomenal. I used them when they first came out, and I was totally blown away by what you guys actually do. So you have 35, you have medium format. The image quality is beautiful, and you're not necessarily cutting edge per se, but boy, do you put out a solid, good product that holds up forever.
Right. I guess what I would say is we've maintained true to the DNA of the company.
Yeah.
So our cameras, the M camera, you hear the word Leica, what do you think? You think of a rangefinder.
Sure.
But what we do, I think our core, I guess what we do best is lenses. And when we look at a medium format camera that's 37.5 megapixel and even a mirrorless camera that's 24 megapixel, the lenses are designed to out-resolve the sensor. So just like you could use on our SL legacy glass from R&M, and those lenses look incredible. They have a different personality than today's lenses.
Yes.
But the big thing is what I call the Leica look, the creamy, what I would describe as a creamy sharpness. So it's, the focus plane is crisp and sharp, and the fall off to foreground and background is very natural and makes the image look three-dimensional. And that's what our customers connect with. That's one. The second thing is just the user interface. How you put the camera in your hand and people just say, this is like a breath of fresh air. This is simple. I don't have to go down 4 levels in a menu to change my ISO.
That is so critical.
So it's user interface. It's a lot of the products are hand assembled in Germany. So there's that human element to what we do. And I think, it kind of sounds corny, but the reality is people connect with that. And it just allows them as a photographer to get beyond the technical part of the camera and photograph.
It's one thing to go out taking pictures. It's another thing to go out with taking pictures with a camera that I love working with this camera. I like this camera. You mentioned something that to me is very special about Leica. All myth and legend aside, it's easy to get lost in that. But when the M8 came out, the first digital M, one of the things that struck me about it was how simple the menus were and how logical. And there was no garbage. There was no junk. Everything just felt where it should be. I don't even think I cracked the manual open, and it was all there. And then when you came out with the S, I used that. I looked at that menu and go, it's still here. This is a Leica philosophy brought down to the menus.
Right.
And it was kind of funny. I picked up a, made in 2002, the Digilux One. I found one on eBay in mint shape, new in a box. And I've been using 4 megapixel, killer. It makes it awesome 5x7s.
It's the lens. It's the lens that does it. Yeah.
But what gets me is that even here in this basic point and shoot, you had the simplicity menus in there. It wasn't quite as refined back then. This 14 years ago, 16 years ago, but you had it down there. And I'm looking at the new cameras, and I own other brand cameras, and I've used just about everything out there right now. And most of them are just so over-designed and overloaded. And I pick up a Leica, and son of a gun, they did their menus exactly the way they designed their cameras.
Right.
And it works.
That's another part of our philosophy is just the essentials.
Keep it simple.
And that's what we're about.
Could you give us any ideas of some things that might be coming down the pike from Leica?
Well, the thing to us, we're continuing to develop our SL lens system. So we have just announced this week, and we have a sample here of the 16 to 35.
Okay.
That's an incredible lens. Focuses as close as 10.5 inches.
I like that.
Beautiful. So if you're someone that likes really wide but likes foreground point of interest to be in focus, you can certainly do that with that lens. So in the fall, then we have a 35 APO Summicron which I believe it's the first time that we'll have an APO. It's 35 millimeter, and also a 50 APO Summicron. That's joining the 75 and the 90, both APO Summicrons. So for us, that then 3 zooms, 1635, 2490, 90 to 280, then primes 75, 90, 35, and 50. That's a real system, plus the ability to use all the legacy M glass, pretty much, legacy R glass. You can use S lenses. So then the CL is our APS-C camera that is a system camera, but also uses the same lenses as the SL. So all those lenses would mount, and a lot of people are using those when they're doing 4K video on the SL because they're smaller and lighter. You put it in a gimbal, you're not losing anything because it's cropped. We record Cine 4K and UHD at Super 35. So all that's pretty exciting for us in terms of the completion of that system. This being a Photokina year, I imagine that we'll hear more about that lens system.
By the way, Leica has been doing this for a while. Many years, decades ago, Leica was, I believe, the first consumer company to start introducing spheric elements.
Correct.
Okay, and the reason why is because Leica engineers figured out that film technology, the quality of film is getting to a point where the films are actually almost as sharp as ours, so therefore we have to up the game.
Correct.
And that's what most manufacturers are dealing with today with these higher resolution sensors. They didn't have to deal with it film because the lenses were good enough.
Right, exactly.
But now they can't do it.
Right.
So yeah, that's something to take in mind when you are buying a new system. You make sure your glass is as good as the camera you got.
Exactly.
So, all right, John, thank you so much for bringing us up to speed on the latest from Leica.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Take care.
This has been a long, exhausting day here. We've spoken to I don't know how many vendors and learned about so much stuff. My head is kind of spinning here right now. We hope that you at home or in your car or in the train or wherever you're listening to this podcast also enjoyed it. We had a blast doing this. And stay tuned for future episodes. And in the meantime, on behalf of John, Jason, and myself, thank you so much for joining us today.